Welcome to r/PettyRevenge, where we share stories of small victories over those who have wronged you. Thank you guys for subscribing, likes, and supporting in the comments. The first story, I made the neighbors leave home. The second story, guy got revenge on the road. The third story, you'll receive the same order because you had bad behavior. But before the video starts, friends, make sure if you're subscribed to the channel if you haven't already. I'm trying to get 100,000 by the end of the year. So hit that subscribe button, and here we go. The first story is the horrible downstairs neighbors in the shared boiler. Let me preface this with my sympathy for downstairs apartment dwellers. I've been there. I know that pain. It's hard having feet above you all the time. My family moved into the upstairs unit of a split-level duplex about 4 years ago. We met with the downstairs neighbors, who informed us they were also moving out in the next couple of months. Things were peaceful, they moved, and for about 3 months we didn't have any neighbors. Then one day the big lock was gone from the neighbor unit's door, a moving van appeared, and we had neighbors again. They were an older couple and very reserved. We tried to be friendly, but they made it pretty apparent right from the start that they weren't interested in any more contact than was necessary. That was fine, honestly. I'm not huge on being insta-friends with neighbors anyways. I figured we'd just leave each other be. Within the first 2 days, the neighbor lady came up complaining about us banging around upstairs. It was strange because we'd just been going about our normal business, and our son hadn't even been horsing around or anything. We just promised to try to be quieter, but not long after she'd left, she was back at our door saying, "You're doing it again. You have to stop this." We weren't doing anything. We suggested any number of things she could have been hearing. The old plumbing, the building's shared boiler kicking up, but she wouldn't have any of it. A couple of days later, we got a formal noise complaint from our property managers. Things rapidly went downhill from there. We couldn't listen to music at any volume. I couldn't play my guitar, ever. We couldn't run our washer, dryer, or dishwasher when they were home, which was most of the time. We could barely turn on our faucets. Walking had to be cat-like, and God forbid our son laugh, jump, or play. Any infraction had the neighbors pounding on their ceiling, the stairwell walls, or our door. We quickly learned that the husband was far scarier than his wife. He'd actually get in our faces, poking his finger directly in front of my eye and snarling, "I don't have to take this SH from young punks like you." We started reporting incidents to the property manager. At first it was difficult, because they'd reported first, and every time I called them to try to explain that this was getting ridiculous, they'd dismiss me with some kind of platitude about how we had to come to a compromise together. To top it all off, at Christmas, the neighbor got a punching bag and set it up in his garage. This would have been fine, except he practiced at 4 in the morning every day, and the garage was located directly next to our bedroom. He'd hit that thing so hard it'd shake the house. We tried to talk to him about it, but he blew us off. He still had the gall to complain about noise all the time, too. The final straw was about 6 months into living with them. I remember because the day started with me walking down my hallway to go take a shower, and the neighbors started pounding on the floor beneath me, screaming to keep quiet, and scared the SH out of me. Later that day, around about 6 p.m., our son had a small accident and spilled some food all over himself. We took the dirty clothes and set them to wash in the washing machine. The neighbors started beating on the door. He was yelling, and it sounded and felt like he was throwing his whole weight against it. I actually had a panic attack and took our son to his room, while my husband went to face the man. He was shouting about how much noise he had to put up with all the time, and my husband was trying to explain that he was being totally unreasonable. The guy poked my husband hard in the chest and said, "If the management doesn't do something about you, I will." It was only a vague threat, but it was enough to get the managers to take us seriously at least. We filed a police report and managed to get a formal complaint in for once. However, I was still terrified by what had happened. Although the neighbors were older, the man was certainly still strong, and the escalation had me so frightened. I felt like there was nothing I could do but wait for him to intimidate us again. But then I hatched a plan. The neighbor would get up early to work out with his punching bag. He'd start around 4 a.m. Then I'd hear his wife leave the house and go to work at about 4:30. Then at 5, he'd stop, shut his garage door, return inside and take a shower, then head to work himself. Our duplex has a shared boiler, I mentioned, for heat and hot water. It's actually a pretty good size, but it doesn't take too long to exhaust. So I began. The dreadful rumble of the punching bag would begin, and I would lie awake, waiting for the neighbor lady to leave the house. The second I heard her car pull out of the driveway, I'd spring out of bed and run to the bathroom, crank the heat on the tub's faucet as high as it would go, and then wait. Once I heard the garage door start to close, I'd run back in and turn it off. The first couple of times I didn't hear much, a disgruntled murmur maybe. I was diligent. This guy couldn't stand much irritation, I knew. I just had to be patient. The third day I did this, I heard a loud bang from the downstairs bathroom, and him shouting. Not at us, just in general. Before more banging around, slamming the door, and peeling out of the driveway in his truck. I kept it up. Every day I heard his effing punching bag, I'd wait eagerly in bed to ruin his post-workout shower. It got to where it was fun. Once I went back into the bathroom to test the water before he stopped his workout, and it was ice cold. I actually threw back my head and laughed. It felt good to get him back, even though it was really petty. We stopped hearing complaints. The guy slowly reduced his morning workouts. We started seeing plumbers parked in their lot, and then we started seeing confused and frightened plumbers hastily leaving, while the neighbors screamed at them when they couldn't find anything wrong. We got phone calls from the management asking if we were having issues with our hot water, and my husband had to suppress wild giggles at the look on my face when I said, "No, it's been working fine." Things calmed down, the outbursts tapered off, and one fine day as spring began to arrive, I saw the neighbors loading their furniture into the back of their truck. I set an alarm specifically to ruin their showers one more time before they left, the effers. They moved and we got new neighbors. We haven't had any complaints since, and life has been good. It's been about 3 years, and I still get a warm fuzzy feeling when I recall how I got those peas back. The next story is an alternate response to dealing with road rage. I want to start off with a little bit of background. My car is a stick shift, and for those that don't really know stick, it requires an extra step when you want to accelerate from a stop. Unlike a car with an automatic transmission, which you just let off the brake and hit the gas pedal, a manual on the other hand requires you to press a clutch, put the car in gear, and then let off the clutch while applying the gas. It really doesn't require much extra time over an automatic, but it definitely isn't as instantaneous as an automatic. Now on to the story. I was sitting at a stoplight and was at the very front of the line. The road I was on was 2 lanes wide, and both lanes had roughly 3 to 4 cars in them. The light turns green, and I'm reaching over to shift into gear when someone starts blaring their horn, and not like the polite pay attention beep, but a "you just cut me off on the highway and almost killed me" honk. Keep in mind that the light had literally just turned green, and no cars had moved yet. The horn actually made me stop dead in my tracks, and I looked around, as was the car next to me, to see if someone had blown a red light, or there was a close call with a pedestrian or something. That's when I look in my rearview mirror and see that no one was in any danger, as it was the angry little man in the car behind me, and he was honking at me. This guy is wailing his arms around manically and screaming what I can only imagine to be obscenities at me. Now, my initial reaction is to flick this little pea off, but I realize something and all of a sudden all of my counter rage is gone. This guy desperately wants to go, but can't because of me, and because of the wall of cars that are to his side. So I calmly shift my car into gear and accelerate as slowly as I can through the intersection. I might have been going 5 miles per hour through that intersection. The guy realizes what I'm doing and loses it. I can't even imagine what he's saying at this point. He finally gets an opportunity to switch lanes and get out from behind me, as I'm still driving as slow as I possibly can without being a total aid to the other people on the road. I'm laughing hysterically at this point, thinking that my fun is all over now. But the car that he's behind now decides to make a left turn and comes to a dead stop. I watch this guy flick off the car, making the left turn, and then get even more peeved when he realizes he has to get behind me again. We get past the car making a left turn, and there's now an open lane for him to pass me in. He promptly speeds up and gets around me, and then cuts me off. Finally, there's open road for him to rage down without any a-holes like me to slow down his fast and furious lifestyle. Once again, I'm thinking my fun is over. Due to the slow driving and then getting stuck behind the car making the left turn, he missed the next light that was about a block or 2 from where this whole ordeal originated. And remember how he felt the need to cut me off? Well, now we're both sitting at the light with me behind him. He's gesturing towards me, and I know exactly what he's screaming in the car based off of the gestures. He's yelling at me about how this is my fault, that he missed the light, as well as some other obscenities, I imagine. The light turned green. He was so busy yelling at me that he wasn't paying attention, so there was only one completely rational response. I punched my horn and let it blare. The last I saw him do was a little nod and what looked like a small wave as he turned back to his steering wheel and drove off. I just want to be clear that pretty much all the time I'm ready to go at a light as I'm watching the cross traffic light so that I don't hold up traffic. In this particular instance, I was not able to see the cross traffic light, so I couldn't be 100% prepared to go right when the light changed. Also, with a heavy clutch, it can be very wearing on my leg to hold it in the whole time, when instead I can just shift quickly and generally get off the line, just as fast as any other car. In this particular instance, the car next to me wasn't even able to start going before the guy started honking his horn. And the last story is waiter. So I'm staying at this nice hotel, and I get free breakfast with my room. I go downstairs and sit down for breakfast. It's a nice buffet. There's an egg station where you can fill out a card, and they make the egg you order. Anyways, from behind me I hear this shrill voice of none other than but a Karen. Now I'm in Asia, so this is an Asian Karen, which are even worse. Since they pay, and that pay goes to the waiters, they think they own said waiters. Anyway, she keeps yelling waiter, but the place was understaffed at the moment. The egg guy, 2 waiters, and the check-in lady. There were maybe 15 people eating breakfast at the time. Waitress, we'll be with you in a moment. Karen, fine. A few minutes later, the waitress stopped by Karen's table. Karen, I never asked for ham in my omelet. Waitress, okay, I'll check your slip. Comes back after a moment. Ma'am, you did check the box for ham. I'm sorry for the inconvenience. We'll make you another one as soon as possible. Karen, no, I want it now. Waitress, ma'am, we have other customers to attend to. Karen, I don't care. You need to satisfy everyone here, and I'm not satisfied, so make me another egg now. No ham. The egg guy must have heard, because he did not look pleased. The waitress walked over and told him Karen's order, and I could see a big grin grow across his face. He started making the new omelet, and seeing this, Karen seemed happy, but kept an eye on the process from her seat. Egg guy from across the room. You wanted extra ham, right? Karen. No ham at all. E.g., sorry, I can't hear you. As he said this, he locked eyes with her and poured the entire bowl of ham into the egg, and Karen let out a screech like she just saw Satan suck her child's toes. The story was unfolding as I was writing it, so I didn't have the full thing yet. After the banshee screech, she of course started yelling about how she demanded to see the hotel manager, as any Karen would. It took them about 20 minutes to call them over, and by the time he was there, and there were more staff, and I was almost finished eating. He of course asked what was going on and why she was screeching, and they finally managed to calm her down. After going into the kitchen for a quick chat with the omelet guy and the waitress, he came back out, apologized to Karen for the trouble, and the bee got away with a free breakfast for her trouble. Now you may think that she got off easy and got even a free breakfast, but the way my hotel works is, if they feel really sorry, they'll actually compensate you with maybe another night at the hotel, free drinks, room service keys, but free breakfast is the least they ever give out, and it's easy to get. So really she just got a whining present, and in all honesty it cost the hotel nothing. The bee's probably going to show up tomorrow at breakfast and have something similar happen. We'll see. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you liked it, don't forget to subscribe.